Is it like the title of your next play?
Dear God, comma.
Comma.
That comes on ending of this month, so please stay tuned. The details for that production will be on this network. So stay tuned. Dear God, comma. Incredible. A policeman's life is not an easy one. Indeed, sometimes it is even dangerous. And that is a quote from Kwame Nkrumah in June 9, 1962, when he was opening the police headquarters. The police corporal has been on duty since 6 a.m. It is now 6:15. It is the morning rush hour, and he has done his best to keep the traffic flowing. He is tired and hungry, but he puts his own personal comfort and personal needs aside. This is his job, and there will be no unnecessary traffic jams and indiscipline on the road today, not when he's on duty. He has been trained to wear his uniform with pride, and he is doing just that. Now the worst of traffic is over. Cars are moving slowly, but smoothly. Then he sees this black Toyota Land Cruiser driving on the wrong side. It has taken one lane of the oncoming traffic, and cars have to swerve to avoid it. Corporal stops the car and walks up to the driver's side, but the driver, a man in suit, refuses to roll down the window. Corporal taps gently on the window to indicate to the driver to roll the window down. The man's face is a picture of disgust, but Corporal overlooks it. The window finally comes down, about 8 inches. Yes, what? The man asks with scorn. Good morning, sir, Corporal says, still trying very hard to uphold the highest professional standards. Look, says the man, you are wasting my time. Why have you stopped me? Corporal says, you were driving on the wrong lane. And so what? The man bursts out. Do you know who I am? Corporal says, sir, I don't need to know who you are to do my job. Sir, may I see your license, please? The man says, officer, I said you are wasting my time. Do you know that I can get you fired? Corporal says, you can do whatever you want, but until you get me fired, I insist on doing my job. Please, your license. Koyo, this scenario is one every police officer in Ghana has encountered before at one time or the other in his or her career. Too many Ghanaians who should know better tend to treat the police with utter contempt. And I think that is unfortunate. When the average Ghanaian thinks of the Ghana Police Service, he thinks of the corporal or sergeant standing by the roadside stopping cars and asking for papers. When I think of the Ghana Police Service, what comes to mind is very different. One morning in 1999, at about 7:45 a.m., it was raining very heavily in Accra, and I was driving from Jamestown to the industrial area in the rain. When I got to the Kolebu traffic light, I realized that the traffic lights were off. Now, usually when those lights are off, mayhem ensues at the four-way intersection. But on this occasion, in heavy rain and in rush hour, there was order. You know why there was order where there should have been chaos? It was because a police officer was standing in the rain directing traffic. He was drenched, and he must have been cold, but he was standing in the rain doing his job. He was a human being like myself, and I knew that if I stood in that rain, I would come down with a serious bout of cold later. But this policeman put his concern for himself aside and sacrificed his health to stand in the rain to ensure that those of us who used that route to work got to office safely and peacefully. I can never get that picture out of my mind, and when I think of Ghana Police Service, I think of that picture. I have lived at Teshinungwa for over 20 years. These days, driving to Teshi in the evenings is no longer a nightmare, but it was not always like that. A few years ago, the traffic situation was terrible. There was a lot of lawlessness on that stretch of the road from La Beach Hotel to Teshi. But there was one policeman called Adai, whose presence on the road brought absolute order to the traffic. When he was on duty, everyone behaved himself, and the traffic moved orderly and smoothly. When I think of Ghana Police Service, I think of the hard work of Adai, his firmness, his dignity, and his sense of duty in ensuring law and order. When I think of Ghana Police Service, I think of the officer who in the late 70s was known as the dancing policeman at Accra Central. This was a policeman who directed traffic with such enthusiasm that he was a delight to watch. And without speaking, he inspired you to go and do your work with enthusiasm too. When I think of Ghana police, I think of Salifu Dagati. He was a police officer who took a bullet for Osachifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. After his death, his widow and son moved to stay at the Kwame Nkrumah Estates a few meters away from South Central in Kumasi, where I grew up. And his son became one of my playmates. You know, if you can sleep soundly at night, you owe that to the Ghana Police Service. If you can go about your daily business safely, you owe that to the Ghana Police Service. If you can keep your office and shop open daily for business, you owe that to Ghana Police Service. When I think of the Ghana Police Service and our attitude to the men and women in police uniform, I think of a story Pawuli told in a lecture. He said a primary school teacher asked his pupils which was more important to life on earth, the sun or the moon. One pupil stood up and said, the moon is more important than the sun. The teacher asked, why do you say that the moon is more important than the sun? The people said, the moon is more important because it comes out in the night when we really need light, and it brightens the night for us. But the sun comes up only when it is day, and we don't really need its light. The poor child was probably too young to understand two things. One, the moon gets its light from the sun. Whatever light the moon is able to provide comes from the sun. Two, it is the sun that lights up the day. Without the sun, the day will be darker than night. The point is, we often take some things and some institutions for granted in Ghana. And of all the institutions we take for granted in Ghana, none is more taken for granted than the Ghana Police Service. The successes and achievements of the service are ignored, but their mistakes are mentioned with loudspeakers from mountaintops. We need to celebrate the Ghana Police Service and show them the respect that is richly due them. And we need to do that for two reasons. This year is an election year, and whether you and I can continue to live our lives in peace after the results have been declared will depend heavily on the Ghana Police Service. We cannot continue to show them disrespect and expect that they will somehow rise up to the occasion when we need them the most. The second reason we need to inspire the Ghana Police Service is because of the threat of terrorism that seems to be getting ever closer to Ghana. Like Ebola, I pray that we are spared, but we need our policemen and women to be ready to sacrifice their lives for us so we can continue to live in peace. To the officers of the Ghana Police Service, I say to you this morning, thank you for wearing that uniform. Please continue to wear it with pride and dignity. Ghana needs you now more than ever.
No doubt, and that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Very inspiring. I'm going to go and shake the hand of a police officer this morning if I get a chance.
Show them respect.
Indeed. Thank you, Uncle Ibu. And
Thursday.
Okay.
Kojo,
hopefully,
what is the biggest lie you ever told in your life? Answer, listeners, answer coming up on Thursday.
But coming up now is the Joy Business Report.